We ready? All right, and action.
Hello?
He'll be back.
Is anyone...
I think he's training the lizard, actually.
So, oh boy, where to start? Hello, my name is Robert Higgins, and I am an independent filmmaker attempting to make a movie for $1,000 and build a blueprint so that you guys out there can do it too. So this is kind of a sidebar but not a sidebar. I know this channel is all how to make a movie for $1,000, but this isn't like changing your royal. If you've never done something like this before, you're not going to be able to manage it on your first try. Making a movie is not easy, even if, as I'm going to prove, it's only 5 minutes long. So I put together a short, Draining the Lizard, as a proof of concept for this entire series, which is something I also think you should attempt. We made ours for 80 bucks, and we shot it in about 6 to 7 hours over the course of one day. Making a short is a good idea for several reasons. The most important one being that if you've never shot anything before, you're gonna need some practice. Two, even if you have shot something before, it's a great way to rally your cast and crew around something that shows people what your movie's gonna be like. Also, you can weed out problematic attitudes and find your on-set rhythm. It's just an all-around good idea. I recommend shooting like a prequel short or an offshoot to the main story, or even a scene that you're really excited as to how it's gonna look on screen. The reason I'm bringing this up is because ultimately I wanna be honest with you guys. You've heard me say on this channel that I've been making movies for 18 years, and it's fair to say that I have seen my share of disaster shoots. This was not one of them, but it was kinda close. The crew that I worked with was friendly enough so that most of them were at least affiliated by Facebook, if not having worked together outright. So, you know, that wasn't the problem. The biggest problem was my fault, in that we had, let's say, a loose establishment as to whom was directing. When I originally conceived this short, it was for different reasons and different circumstances, some of which still exist and some of which do not. But long story short, this was originally supposed to be the directorial debut of my wife, Misha.
Go ahead and slate.
Scene 1, take 7.
Misha is an amazing producer and has been my long-suffering partner for many of my 18 years of filmmaking. Probably too many if you ask her. But Misha directing changed our dynamic a bit, and I'll admit I should have done a better job at making sure that we were better in sync during pre-production. When we got on set, there seemed to be kind of confusion as to who the cast and crew should respond to, as I had done most of the pre-production question answering. Some of the answers that I had given beforehand did not correspond with how Misha wanted to actually shoot. Which is a problem because film is a director's medium and you need a unified vision for everyone to get behind. Then we had some technical hiccups, and this is where you might want to write some things down because I'm gonna get a little bit technical here and you might want to Google some of this stuff later. I'm calling this the FAT32 problem. Basically, with solid state drives, flash drives, SD cards, internal and external hard drives, your smartphone is essentially a giant solid state hard drive. Most normal cameras shoot to solid state memory, and they know due to limitations of the technology. Don't ask me to explain it to you, I'm not an expert, but this has literally never come up in any other video that I've seen about shooting on a phone. They know that files can only be up to a certain size before they become unmanageable for transfer. So internally, the camera or device just makes a new file. This is the reason that DSLRs still have time limits for clips in certain instances. My Canon uses, you guys remember the 12-minute limit? But the iPhone, shooting in Filmic Pro, and don't get me wrong, Filmic Pro is an amazing app that allows you to turn your smartphone into a video shooting beast. However, this app is not built for a camera, it's built for a smartphone. And since this short is essentially one shot, at the bit rate and resolution at which we were shooting, we were essentially breaking the FAT32 rule in every take. Basically, even at 5 minutes long, our file sizes were too big and too long to get successfully through an entire take. We started to realize something was wrong when we tried to move our two big files from our iPhone to our iPhone thumb drive and the files wouldn't transfer. Remember this little guy? So we couldn't check our footage, which led to 2 more problems. Number 1, of the 8-minute full takes of our 5-minute one shot, we only have essentially 2 where the camera goes from beginning to end without glitching or quitting about the 4-minute mark. And no, it didn't tell us it was doing it while we were shooting, because we were shooting about 1 gig of footage a minute and, you know, FAT32. Because we couldn't check our footage on set on a big enough screen, we didn't notice, for instance, that there was a light stand in all of our usable shots. Things like this happen, I guess. I mean, you know, here's looking at you, Game of Thrones. But on a low budget set like ours, with stakes like this, it just looks unprofessional. But unfortunately, that's what we have to work with because there is a perfect take. Damn near completely perfect. Take 3, the actors hit all their beats, the camera's in just the right spots. What happens? 4 minutes in, see for yourself.
Good.
Thunder. Look, I don't want to discourage you from shooting on your phone. And it doesn't change my mind as to whether the iPhone can handle it. I mean, it's almost like finding out that your pistol is a hand cannon. It's stupid powerful and it gives you a great image. And I don't imagine that people shoot a lot of big Spielberg one takes on their phones. I mean, you can, just, you know, remember the thing here is lower resolutions. Next week in part 2 of our production series, we might switch it up and have our first in-studio interview. So if you found this video interesting or informative, hit that like button and or subscribe. I'm in the middle of trying to plan another proof of concept using what I learned, and whatever, I'm crazy. So see you next week for another Mofo Monday. As you know, I've got work to do.
Yeah, you love it, Qui-Gon Jinn.